Hey there, it's Sunday morning and I just released the video on making this thing right here. Very quick project. I actually started this on Friday morning, finished it yesterday afternoon. Well, I finished everything, the video too, and put it out this morning. And this is the short version. I'm going to be making a longer one as well that works with a 1/2-inch bit. So that, or maybe not a 1/2-inch bit, maybe a 3/8-inch bit. 3/8-inch bit is probably the better one, because if you use a 1/2-inch bit, a lot of plywood isn't exactly a 1/2-inch thick, and so you lose your precision there, or your minimum. Whereas if you use a 3/8-inch bit, then you're going to be able to make a 1/2-inch slot, less than 1/2-inch slot with that. Okay, and here's what that does. If you haven't watched the video, there's a link in the description or at the card or end card, whatever it is, on the end of this video. You can go there and watch that. What it does is it quickly adjusts to suit whatever material you're using for your shelf, or whatever you're putting, like whatever you're using to put in the dado. Right, so if you have a shelf that you want to cut a dado for, use the shelf and you space your jig with that. Right, slide it over until these shoulders, as I call them in the video, come up tight against it. Tighten this thing down and route your slot, and it works awesomely. Perfect. And like I said, I'm going to make a longer one probably in a few weeks, right? And I'll make a video about that too, just because I can, right? And yeah, so that's that. What else can I talk about? Talk about my table saw. I know the title of this video, as I'm thinking about it right now, mentions the new table saw. And it's not that I'm displeased with this one, but there are a couple of things about it that I would change if I were to do it over again. And first and foremost is when you wheel the blade down like very low, the swing type mechanism for height adjustment on this makes it so that when that goes down to the bottom, it doesn't have a lot of support laterally. Like it built into the saw, there's a support there, and it gives maximum support when the blade is all the way up. And as it goes down, of course, it swings away from that, and that distance away from the thing means that it can have a little bit of run out when it's all the way down. Now, that's not normally a problem for everything you're going to do, other than cut box joints. I've tried to use my box joint jig with this and ran into that problem using the normal blade that I used, the 1/8-inch blade that I used. So that highlighted that problem right there. The other thing is, it's light. Light is probably, okay, light has its good qualities and its bad qualities. Light, makes it so that you can move it easily, but then it also makes it so that you can move it easily. And I've had this thing shift when I've been trying to push something through that's heavier. So I was thinking about rebuilding it and taking the stuff that I learned from this and maybe going back to the other mechanism that I started building before, the vertical one, the straight vertical lift mechanism that's on steel rails, and using that instead. The other thing, I like the gray plastic, and I liked it more when it was brand new. Now it's kind of looking a little bit dumpy. It scratches kind of easily, and it picks up, stains in certain places. I suppose if I could sand it, that wouldn't be a problem, and I get rid of most of that. But I was thinking, okay, if you go way back, if you can remember the table saw that I had when I started on YouTube, the main part of the table saw was a concrete top. And then the other part, on the other side of the blade, was actually a sliding table. Now, I don't know that I would go back to a sliding table, but I was really thinking about going back to a concrete top, except making the concrete top very much like the way I made this, with the insert cast in, so that it would be a one piece, almost like a cast iron top, or almost like, I think it was Rigid made tops made out of granite, something like that. Because I still have that top, actually. It's sitting on, it's leaning up the wall of my house out there. And that's what made me think of it, going back to that. So that would be the weight. And then I would have more weight in the bottom too. So yeah, that's what I was thinking about. That's what I was thinking about. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it right away, but like, it's in my mind, and things that are in my mind can all of a sudden start happening. So right about now, some of you might be saying, well, what happened to that drill press rebuild that you talked about before? It's a big project, so I wanted to clear some space, you know, some time to do it. I had some other stuff that I had to take care of in the meantime, and I didn't want to get into a bigger project. That's the reason why I've been doing several smaller ones. And you know, like I say, it's a big project. It's not as big as a table saw, but still, I got to go out and get that mechanism out of my shed that I use for, like, I didn't use it. I took it out of that reclining chair that I had. That's the thing that I'm going to be using to lift and lower it. I also have to draw it up kind of roughly. I'm not going to get too specific with the plans. I basically want to do this more or less like the same way that I did the table saw to begin with, in that I just had some rough idea to start with, and then I just came out and started building it. And so that's the idea here. I can say that probably the first step is to take what I have here apart. This head will be separate of that column. The column won't be used anymore. This head will be mounted on a frame that's mounted on that sliding thing that moves up and down, that's actually bolted to the wall. So that's the idea there. And that'll be done electrically with a switch, the up-down switch that came with the chair. So I'll be able to press a switch maybe over here and lift it up. And then of course the quill will still work, right? This is just for rough height adjustment of the head. And then for the lower part, I talked about that before, making that adjustable. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it in two heights. As in, the top part will sit on the bottom part. So if I have a really long, tall piece that I need to drill on the drill press, I'll be able to take that top section off, set it on the floor right here, put the work piece on the lower part of the thing, and then use this, right? So I think that's the simplest way. I thought about making it hinged or whatever, but I really see drawers in these things, and the top section would be maybe 12 inches. So that would give me an extra 12 inches of height when I take it off. And then 12 inches with 2 or maybe 3 shallower drawers in it. Like, you couldn't really put a lot of stuff in there to make it too heavy, so that when you lifted it off and set it down, it wouldn't be a big deal. Another kind of out there project that I was thinking about was building my jointer into the miter saw station, either rebuilding the miter saw station altogether, which I really don't want to do, or just taking out these drawers down here and having the jointer so that it can slide out. It'll be on like a big drawer, on drawer slides. So you slide it out and you use it, and you can slide it right back in. Right now, it's on like a stand over there that has wheels on one end. And when I want to use it, I pull it out into the floor and I plug it in. But this, I'm thinking it would be a lot more convenient, because I could just reach down, pull it out. It would already be plugged in, and I could use it. What makes this more interesting is that I would rebuild the jointer to work in here, and I would make that into a video as well. The original build, I think, was 7 or 8 videos that I made there. And I had several problems with it while I was doing it. In particular, this steel that I used for the top was hot rolled, and I thought that I could flatten that enough to, and it does work. It's not like it's that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, really, what I wind up using this for is just to get a flat, straight surface on one side of a board. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect most of the time. Then I run it through the surface planer, which is, you know, probably the more crucial tool to have.
Bring me one of those chickens.
You got money to pay for it?
You paid for it?
Tell you what, one of our little chickens for one of yours. Give us a go at your friend.
You're a talker. Listening to talkers makes me thirsty and hungry. Think I'll take 2 chickens.